Hi students, Standard 11, welcome in this online class of biology, and today we are going to discuss Unit 4, Class 11, Unit 4. You are looking here the diagram of the stomata, and that diagram has already been taught in Standard 10. You are familiar with the word stomata. Now if we talk about stomata, then we are talking about the leaves. But what we have to discuss in Unit 4? Unit 4, Plant Physiology. Here you can see we have to discuss plant physiology. Plant physiology. Physiology is that branch of biology in which we discuss about the different types of metabolic activities occurring inside the living organism. And in this chapter of plant physiology, we are going to read three processes. One is photosynthesis in higher plants, respiration in plants, plant growth and development. Today, we are going to focus on this chapter, chapter 11. Then what is physiology and what is photosynthesis? So if we start this chapter, before that we have to be familiar with the scientist who brought us in the world of physiology, and well-known scientist, well-known name in this field of biology, Melvin Calvin. Melvin Calvin. Later we shall study one part of photosynthesis cycle, one part of reaction is also known as Calvin reaction, or we can say dark reaction, we can say different types of name on the name of the scientist. Melvin Calvin, who was Melvin Calvin? He was born in Minnesota in April 1911 and he received his PhD in chemistry. He received his PhD in chemistry from the University of Minnesota. And this is the town in Berkeley in California. At University of California, Berkeley. Just after World War II जब हुआ था, then the whole world was under shock by the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings. I think you must know about 6th August 1945, which is a very bad day, I think, in the history of Japan, when the atom bomb was dropped on Hiroshima, and then after 2 days on Nagasaki also. So it was the ill effect of radioactivity that was seen. But this scientist was such a great scientist who took this radioactivity and told us that it is of what benefits. It can give benefits, but what are the benefits that we can get from such radioactivity processes? We can say that we all know, this is our previous knowledge, that plants make food. आप पहले से जान रहे हो कि green plants make food. ये बात आपको बहुत बचपन से सिखाई जाती है कि plants जो है वो food factory कहलाते हैं, because they prepare the food. We get all the food from the plants. Then what does the plants use? Plants use carbon dioxide, water and minerals. But if we are talking about carbon dioxide, that carbon dioxide is labeled with C14. C14, this is the use of radioactivity that we can understand, and light energy is changed into chemical energy. Sunlight जो है solar rays, that is changed into chemical energy. How it is changed, we shall read it. And due to this pathway, the mapping of the pathway of carbon assimilation in photosynthesis earned him Nobel Prize in 1961. There are two types of cycles that we shall study in this chapter. light reaction and dark reaction. And dark reaction is also known as Calvin cycle. In Calvin cycle, you can see that carbon dioxide, carbon assimilation happens, and that cycle, the second phase of the photosynthesis, was discovered by this scientist Melvin Calvin, and so he was awarded with the Nobel Prize also. So let us study. Now this was the warm-up session for all the students. Now photosynthesis in higher plants. In photosynthesis in higher plants, what do we know? First of all, पहले से आप क्या जान रहे हो? And early experiments क्या क्या हुए थे? Where does photosynthesis take place? How many pigments are involved in photosynthesis? What is light reaction? And then ETS, electron transport system, we shall study. Where are ATP and NADPH used? There are different types of subtopics that we have to cover in this chapter. Then, first of all, if we are talking about photosynthesis in higher plants, let us first brief me what is photosynthesis. Because I want to check your previous knowledge, many students are knowing what is photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is made up of two words, photo plus synthesis. Photo means light. Synthesis means to manufacture. We can say to synthesize. So in short, because photosynthesis, we all know photosynthesis is a process by which green plants make food. In from very childhood, you are learning these things that plants make food. Green plants prepare food by the way of water, CO2, sunlight, and chlorophyll. What is photosynthesis? The photosynthesis, so it is called an anabolic process because here some constructive work is done, something is manufactured, so it is called an anabolic. Anabolic means जहाँ कुछ formation होता है उसी को anabolic process कहते हैं because in photosynthesis फूड का फॉर्मेशन, कार्बोहाइड्रेट का फॉर्मेशन होता है, इसलिए फोटोसिंथेसिस को हम एक एनाबॉलिक प्रोसेस कहते हैं इन विच ग्रीन प्लांट्स synthesize carbohydrates with the help of carbon dioxide, water, in presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. So this is the reaction. This is the definition of photosynthesis. We can call it, we can say that light energy is converted into chemical energy because the solar energy now will be changed in the form of chemical energy because carbohydrate will be formed and carbohydrate has chemical energy. So the reaction that you have to learn 6CO2 plus 12H2O, C6H12O6 plus 6O2 plus 6H2O. Now here you have to understand one thing. One is carbon dioxide, one requirement. There are four components that are required for the process of photosynthesis. Sunlight and chlorophyll. Carbon dioxide, water, sunlight and chlorophyll. Out of these four things, one complex substances are formed. This is the carbohydrate. C6H12O6, 6O2 plus 6H2O. Now my question is that, my question from all the students is that, from where does this oxygen comes? The purified oxygen that we are getting from green plants. We all know that green plants give us oxygen. We all know green plants give us food. So by the process of photosynthesis, we can get food also, we can get oxygen also. But you have to tell clearly that in carbon dioxide also there is oxygen, in water there is also oxygen. But if we are talking about that we are getting free oxygen, the oxygen is liberated, pure oxygen is liberated in the atmosphere by the green plants. But from where does this oxygen comes? Whether from CO2 or whether from H2O. So we have to make it confirm that this oxygen comes from by the hydrolysis of water. By the hydrolysis of water. वाटर जब विखंडित होता है तब ये जो ऑक्सीजन लिबरेट करता है, ये ऑक्सीजन हमें एटमॉस्फेयर में लिबरेट किया जाता है. बट व्हाट हैपेंस टू कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड? व्हाट हैपेंस टू कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड? दैट कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड इज सिंथेसाइज्ड, assimilation occurs, assimilation of CO2 occurs to form the carbohydrate. So here two things are very important that you must be clear here, that water oxygen, that is purified oxygen that coming from the green plants, comes from water only. But what the carbon dioxide, the assimilation of CO2 results into the formation of carbohydrate. Now we can know the different topics of photosynthesis. Let us understand the book also, in which we have to understand the experiments, the previous experiments that were taken on this. Here look, you can say that it is a physico-chemical process by which they use light energy to drive the synthesis of organic compounds. Although whatever definitions I have given, that is complete in itself and you can learn it also. Now, what do we know? First of all, now if we say that, what are we knowing? Already knowing. So we already know that green plants need water, CO2, chlorophyll, sunlight for the process of photosynthesis. Now there are so many experiments that have taken place, and you must be knowing it. Here you can see the light is burning and the mouse is also alive. But after some time, what happens? The burning light consumes the oxygen present inside this. And because that is also consumed by the mice. After some time, what happens? The mice also dies and the candle also puts off. Because the oxygen, whatever was present there, that was exhaust. That was used. And there are no green plants here. If there was a green plants, if here there was a green plants, then what happens that the green plants अगर होता तब क्या होता? Then the oxygen continuously इससे liberate होता रहता और इस oxygen को लेकर mice भी alive हो सकता था और candle भी burn हो सकता था. But here what happens? There was no plant. So after some time, the oxygen inside the bell jar was used and nobody can be alive. So understand that what is the importance of green plants in our lives. Whatever CO2 is given by the living organisms are taken by the green plants and converted into oxygen, and we are getting pure oxygen from the green plants. This is the experiment. Here you can see the next वही प्रिस्टले की एक्सपेरिमेंट है. अब हमें यहाँ पर प्लांट डाल दिया. प्लांट डालने से क्या है? माउस भी अलाइव है और कैंडल भी बर्निंग है. So this experiment shows that green plants release oxygen. This was the experiment done by Joseph Priestley in 1770. He revealed the essential role of air in the growth of green plants, and Priestley discovered oxygen in 1774. This is very important topic, very important line. Priestley discovered प्रिस्टले डिस्कवर्ड ऑक्सीजन इन 1774। 74 में प्रिस्टले ने ऑक्सीजन की डिस्कवरी की थी. दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. Now the same thing that I have discussed here, that is written here. You can read the book also, or you can understand the topic. Now next experiment we can go. We can see here. That in 1854, Julius von Sachs, understand the name of the scientists are very much important and all the students have to learn it. ऐसा करिए सब बच्चे अपने अपना नाम एक साइंटिस्ट पे रख लीजिए. You will know and what is your importance, what did you discover. In this way you can learn the topics very well. This is the techniques to learn the name of the scientist and their discovery also. Make a group of 4 to 5 students and change your name, and you know the discovery, once another discovery, and you will learn it thoroughly. Provided evidence for production of glucose when plants grow. Glucose is usually stored as starch. The green substance in plants that is known as chlorophyll is located in special bodies called plant cells like chloroplast, and green plants in plants where glucose is made. This is already discussed. ये डिस्कस हो चुका है. So now another scientist, T.W. Engelmann in 1843 to 1909, what did he do? Using a prism he split the light. अब हमने अभी पढ़ाया था थोड़ा सा फोटोसिंथेसिस के दौरान, जो ऑक्सीजन हमें मिलता है that comes from the hydrolysis of water. What happens here? He split light into spectral components and then illuminated a green alga, cladophora, which was placed in a suspension of aerobic bacteria. Cladophora एक अलगा है जिसे एक बैक्टीरियल सस्पेंशन में रखा गया था, and bacteria were used to detect the site of oxygen. इवोल्यूशन, कहाँ पे ऑक्सीजन का इवोल्यूशन हो रहा है इसको डिटेक्ट करना था. अलगा जो है क्लैडोफोरा में, चूंकि क्लैडोफोरा एक अलगा है और ये ग्रीन प्लांट के अंतर्गत आएगा, तो इसको ग्रीन होने के कारण इसमें क्लोरोप्लास्ट की प्रेजेंस होगी, और क्लोरोप्लास्ट अगर है तो वहाँ पे फोटोसिंथेसिस होगा. जब फोटोसिंथेसिस होगा तो वहाँ पर ऑक्सीजन लिबरेट होगा. तो बैक्टीरियल को क्यों रखा गया, एरोबिक बैक्टीरियल के सस्पेंशन में इसलिए रखा गया क्योंकि ऑक्सीजन की इवोल्यूशन को चेक करना था. वेयर वाज द ऑक्सीजन इवोल्यूशन टेकिंग प्लेस? सो ही ऑब्जर्व दैट बैक्टीरिया accumulated mainly in the region of blue and red light of the split spectrum. A first action spectrum of photosynthesis was thus described, in which it was found that chlorophyll has two types, A and B. Chlorophyll A and B. In the first chapter you have studied in classification of plant kingdom, in classification of algae. Then you have studied that algae has been divided into three classes: Phaeophyceae, क्लोरोफाइसी, फियोफाइसी, रोडोफाइसी. आपने वहां पढ़ा होगा क्लोरोफाइसी में, फियोफाइसी में, रोडोफाइसी में पढ़ा होगा कि कौन से क्लोरोफिल प्रेजेंट होते हैं. क्लोरोफिल ए बी होते हैं, क्लोरोफिल बी होते हैं. इसके अलावा भी क्लोरोफिल जो होते हैं उसके 3-4 पिगमेंट होते हैं: क्लोरोफिल ए, क्लोरोफिल बी, कैरोटीन, xanthophyll. These are the different pigments which are present for the chlorophyll. So here the spectrum has two types of chlorophyll, A and B. Now we can understand the key features of plant photosynthesis was known, namely that plants could use light energy. Plants can use, what can plants use? Plants can use light energy to make carbohydrates from carbon dioxide and water. तो यहाँ से हमारा ये कॉन्सेप्ट चालू हो गया कि किनके, T.W. इंगलमैन के द्वारा, कि कार्बोहाइड्रेट्स जो है वो कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड और वाटर के कॉम्बिनेशन से बन रहा है, और इसका एम्पिरिकल इक्वेशन जो है ये डाला गया CO2 प्लस H2O. हियर जब हम यहाँ पर 6 CO2 प्लस H2O डालते हैं तो CH2O plus O2, this is the important reaction, and on the basis of this reaction when you put here 6 CO2 and you put here H2O में 12 H2O कर दीजिए, तो आपका जो फोटोसिंथेसिस का है इक्वेशन वो बन जाएगा C6H12O6 and oxygen 6O2 liberated and water changes into water. So CH2O represents a carbohydrate, which is a 6 carbon compound, C6H12O6. Now, and another scientist also, Van Neel, Cornelius Van Neel. He was very important scientist in the topic of photosynthesis in this chapter of photosynthesis, and he was a microbiologist. He studied microbiology very well, and he studied the on his studies of purple and green bacteria. He demonstrated that photosynthesis is essentially a light dependent reaction. Photosynthesis cannot take place in the absence of light. It always needs in absence of light, but it always needs the presence of light. You have to understand, like 2H2A plus CO2, when light must be here, and 2HCH2O plus H2O. In green plants, H2O is the हाइड्रोजन डोनर. वाटर जो है ये क्या है, हाइड्रोजन डोनर है, और ये ऑक्सीडाइज हो जाता है ऑक्सीजन में. अभी हमने आपको पहले ही बताया था कि जो वाटर में ऑक्सीजन हमारा लिबरेट होता है, दैट कम्स फ्रॉम वाटर. सम ऑर्गेनिम्स डू नॉट रिलीज ऑक्सीजन ड्यूरिंग फोटोसिंथेसिस. व्हाट हैपेंस दिस? इसलिए यहाँ पे H2A लिखा गया है. H2A क्यों लिखा गया? ये बताया जा रहा है कि जब कोई ऑर्गेनिज्म फोटोसिंथेसिस के दौरान ऑक्सीजन लिबरेट नहीं करते हैं, it means what is there? There is no water. There is hydrogen sulfide. That means hydrogen sulfide is there, H2S. अगर यहाँ पर हम H2S की बात करने लगेंगे, then what will happen? That sulfur will be released. Like we have studied oxygen is released, here we have studied that sulfur will be released, 2S. Here you can write 2A and 2A. So 2A is released, and water, hydrogen instead is the hydrogen donor. For purple and green sulfur bacteria, oxidation product is sulfur or sulfate depending on the organism and not oxygen. Hence infer that oxygen evolved by the green plants comes from H2O. So dear students, this is very much important, and you can't forget it. You can't forget it. Always learn, oxygen evolved by green plants. Oxygen evolved by green plants comes from H2O, not from carbon dioxide. Not from carbon dioxide. Always learn this thing. This is very important thing that you must know, which has later proved by using radioisotopic techniques. इसको फिर से प्रूव भी किया गया रेडियोआइसोटॉपिक टेक्निक से. तो ये हमारा लाइट फोटोसिंथेसिस का कंप्लीट इक्वेशन तैयार है. 6CO2 12H2O C6H12O6. This is the carbohydrate. Water, oxygen is liberated, and that oxygen is coming from the वाटर. एंड कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड का क्या हो गया, एसिमिलेशन होके क्या बन गया, कार्बोहाइड्रेट बन गया. ऑक्सीजन रिलीज्ड इज फ्रॉम वाटर. दिस वाज प्रूव्ड यूजिंग रेडियोआइसोटॉपिक टेक्निक. डोंट स्किप दिस पैसेज. Never skip this passage. This is very important topic for you to understand. Where does the oxygen come from? ऑक्सीजन किससे आया, क्या कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड से आया कि वाटर से आया? So understand, oxygen always comes from water. Now we have to understand where does photosynthesis takes place. Photosynthesis takes place inside the plastids, or we can say the chloroplasts. Chloroplast, which has two important parts. One is grana and another is stroma. You can see the diagram also. Here this is the electron micrograph of the section of chloroplast. Outer membrane, inner membrane, understand very well. Stromal lamella. This is the thylakoids. The piling हुआ है, means कि one upon another they are piled together, and that is called grana. Very important. Here light reaction takes place. ग्रेना में ही लाइट रिएक्शन होता है. दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टॉपिक दैट यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड. इन स्ट्रोमा देयर विल बी डार्क रिएक्शन and there are two phases, there are two types of reactions occurring till the final synthesis of carbohydrates. Two reactions occurs, light reaction and dark reaction. We don't call it as a dark reaction because it occurs in absence of light. Don't think. लाइट रिएक्शन के दौरान जो प्रोडक्ट्स बनते हैं, लाइट रिएक्शन के दौरान एटीपी बनेगा, NADPH2 बनेगा, तो these products will be utilized in the dark reaction, so they are called dark reaction. Not only for this process that they are occurring in absence of light, so we are calling dark reaction. No, the products of light reaction are used in dark reaction. Ribosomes, starch granules, liquid droplets. There are nothing what too much hard things in this directions, in this diagram. Main thing you have to study in this passage. You can understand that क्लोरोप्लास्ट के अंदर क्या होता है. तो एक मेम्ब्रेनस सिस्टम है जिसके अंतर्गत ग्रेना है, स्ट्रोमल लैमेली है, मैट्रिक्स स्ट्रोमा है. देयर इज ए क्लियर डिवीजन ऑफ लेबर विदिन द क्लोरोप्लास्ट. क्लोरोप्लास्ट में भी डिवाइड कर दिया गया है कौन क्या काम करना है. व्हाट इज द वर्क फंक्शन ऑफ स्ट्रोमा एंड व्हाट इज द फंक्शन ऑफ ग्रेना and what is the function of stroma lamellae. Membrane system is responsible for trapping the light energy, also for the synthesis of ATP and NADPH. Understand, ATP and NADPH, they are formed in the grana. They are formed in the grana and they trap the light energy. So we can understand that ATP and NADPH are formed only in light reaction. In stroma, what happens? Enzymatic reaction synthesizing sugar, which in turn forms starch. The former set of reactions, since they are directly driven, are called light reactions, photochemical reactions. The latter are not directly light driven, but are dependent on the products of light reaction. Hence, to distinguish the latter, they are called as dark reaction, or we can say it carbon reactions. This should be constructed to mean that they occur in darkness or that they are not light dependent. So, in very short, we understand that the photosynthesis, the process of photosynthesis occurs in two phases. One is light reaction and another is dark reaction. When we are reading about chloroplasts, the three important parts that you have to study, that is grana, stroma and stroma lamellae. As we have studied, now light reaction takes place in the grana of chloroplast. Light reaction takes place in the grana of chloroplast. And during light reaction, main products that is formed that will be ATP and NADPH. ATP is adenosine triphosphate. ATP, adenosine triphosphate, and NADP is nicotinamide dinucleotide phosphate. Adenosine triphosphate and nicotinamide dinucleotide phosphate. So during the light reaction, these two important products are formed. In dark reaction, what happens? In dark reaction, in light reaction क्या है? वाटर जो है split होता है and oxygen is liberated. But in dark reaction, CO2 के assimilation में important role है dark reaction का. Here final formation of carbohydrate takes place by the help of ATP and NADPH2. We can see here ATP and NADPH is utilized in the formation of ये ATP और NADPH2. We can say that ATP and NADPH formed during light reaction. This is the product of light reaction. Product of light reaction क्या है? तो ATP and NADPH है. So this is used. The product of ATP, the product of light reactions are used in the dark reaction. They are used in dark reaction. Produced product of light reaction, but used in dark reaction for the synthesis of carbohydrates. So this is the final process, final thing that we have studied today, light reaction and dark reaction. So if you come on the book, we understand it, light reaction and dark reaction. So next day we shall discuss more about different types of pigments which are involved in the photosynthesis. So thank you very much, dear students. There are so many questions arising out of this chapter. Please frame the questions yourself from the book. Whatever, देखो जितनी मेहनत खुद से करना है, that is your best effort, and it will bring more fruitful result to you. So always believe in yourself, and your self-confidence will bring success. So whatever you have read today, you take out at least, I think if I have to give you homework, then I will frame at least 25 questions from the topic taught today and write the answer. If you like it, if you have any query, you can write in comment section, and you can also share your views or your requirements for explanation on any topic. For explanation on any topic, because I am here to make bio very easy to all students. So very interesting subject. Take more interest and read thoroughly. Have a good day. Thank you. Thanks to all of you. Many thanks. Thank you. Okay, bye. See you in next video.